Alright, I guess next we're gonna do AP mastering here. I'm not sure how much I know about this personally. DAC scam. Alright, let's see here.
The world of high-end digital to analog converters is filled with hype, misinformation, and outright.
Okay, I already agree with this.
Audiophile forums will tell you that spending thousands on a boutique DAC will bring you sonic nirvana, but there's a dirty little secret that manufacturers don't want you to know. Nearly all of these DACs use the same chips from the same semiconductor giants like Texas Instruments and Cirrus Logic. The truth is,
they make my calculators.
Whether you buy a DAC for $200
what? You mean I could throw my calculator into a DAC?
or $10,000, the fundamental...
Okay, to be fair about AP mastering, right? To be fair to AP mastering, I do think in the past he has released some like stuff where I'm like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. DAW tier list, I think that was not good. But he has released some really good stuff too. He's released some like he's done some mixed videos, man. Like the DAW one, horrible, absolutely horrible. This one too, the Reaper mastering one, like his point was good, but you can do professional mastering in pretty much any DAW. He did make good points about using Reaper specifically, but you know, it's just things that'll speed it up, basically. And then the stuff about building your monitors, that was kind of crap. The sound of vinyl, though, he killed it there. He killed it there. Headphones, I think that was pretty good. Eurorack, I don't know about that. The audio engineering university degree, okay. DAC scam, I think he's onto something here, right? Based off of what we had so far, I think he might be onto something. Before we get into that though, make sure to hit the like button, guys. What are you doing? Drop a like on the YouTube. Subscribe if you're new here. If you want to support the content, if you're enjoying what I do here and you want to support it and help it be viable, consider donating via the Stream Elements link in the description, or a super chat, or becoming a channel member or Twitch sub. Great ways to support the content. Appreciate all support. All right.
Sound of the conversion is dictated by a mass-produced chip that cost just a few bucks. But why then do some people pay 40 grand for a DAC or even over 100 grand?
Audiophiles will pay anything. They will pay anything if they think it might be 1% better. And it doesn't even have to be provably 1% better. There's nobody who's more likely to fall for, what is it called? A placebo effect than an audiophile.
You could literally buy a house for that amount of money. So what do you get for it? You get...
Not here, you can't. Not here, you can't. You definitely can't over here.
Nice case, maybe a screen.
Okay, that looks like a boombox from the future.
But mostly, you're getting a bunch of...
Paul Third and his mate keep ripping his arguments apart. Which ones, though? Which ones? Because I feel like some of his arguments are not great, and some of them are great. Like, the vinyl one, I think he killed it with the vinyl one. I think that is one of his best videos. I don't think I saw the Nyquist one.
Audiophile mumbo jumbo. But sonically speaking, the core of the conversion is still just going to come down to the chip. And if you spent more than, say, €1,000 on a DAC, you've definitely just been sold snake oil. Whether you're a hi-fi guy or a mastering engineer, if you just want a stereo DAC, there's no reason why you need to spend more than a couple of £100 from a competent manufacturer. The chips do pretty much all of the heavy lifting. So what are some of the most cutting-edge, state-of-the-art, mastering-grade chips currently on the market? So we've got the Texas Instruments PCM 1792 ADB, and that costs not much more than £10 retail. And then you've got the Cirrus Logic 43198, and that costs about a tenner as well. And even AKM's most expensive mastering grade flagship offering, which you get with their dual chip architecture, you need to get the AK 4499EX DAC chip and the AK
everybody knows that one.
91 modulator chip. Together, those two chips will set you back an eye-watering £50. So if most of the DACs
that's a lot.
use the same kinds of chips, and those chips don't really cost all that much.
Yeah, I don't got quid either.
How do some of these manufacturers of hi-fi and pro audio DACs justify their outrageous prices? Well, although the chips do all of the heavy lifting, that's not the complete product. Of course, you're going to need to put it in a case. You're going to need to have a high-quality power supply. You're going to need to buy some bits and bobs. You're
going to have to trick influencers into thinking it's better by paying them money, and then they'll trick other people into thinking it's better. That's going to cost money.
RCA jacks, some XLR sockets, a power inlet, all of the bits that you need to finish it off. And there's considerable design work that goes into that, and the assembly cost, and you've got to ship it out, and you've got to distribute it, and you need some profit at the end of the day as well. So I'd never expect a high quality unit to cost €20. Even just one XLR socket costs €2. So the parts do add up. But at the end of the day, any decent manufacturer should be able to put together a high quality, transparent, mastering grade DAC for a couple of £100. And if not, then you're just simply speccing parts which are unnecessarily expensive and exotic and have no impact on the sound quality. I've got a couple of quick important announcements before continuing this video. So firstly, all of my free plugins are now notarized for Mac. So no more unidentified developer warnings. It's all legit and notarized in video.
Oh, this is worth putting in the video.
Unit form. You've also got the Windows versions, and for Linux, you can download.
Huge update here, guys. Your computer will no longer flag my plugins as a virus.
The source code, even they're open source. Now, secondly, all of the people who bought an online course from me previously on the Thinkific platform, I've now transitioned all of your accounts over to my new website. So the Thinkific thing that's going to sunset soon. So you need to go over to my new...
That'd be funny. Like the accent's fake and he actually talks exactly like me.
Website, apmastering.com.
Like he turns off the camera and he's like, well, now I'm done recording this video. Time to go put on my baseball cap and go watch the game and eat a hot dog, eat a nice glizzy.
And everything is over there. Providing you've got the same email address you use to log in, you'll have all of the courses that you previously bought there ready to go. And thirdly, I've got new content.
I'm actually British off camera.
Anyone who's interested in seeing some content from me that's not over on this YouTube channel, I've got some free course content available over on my website. And I've got one of my courses, my mixed preparation for mastering course is now just €2. It's almost free. So anyway, no further interruptions. Let's continue with this video. If a so-called high-end DAC has a boutique power supply exotic op-amp...
Have you guys ever seen these like audiophile videos? Like I saw this one where this guy was like going through all his shit and it like, bro, it must have been like $1 million worth of shit. And it probably doesn't play back things that much better, if at all. It's pretty crazy, bro. I don't know. I can't pull it up offhand. It was something someone sent to me, but audiophile people... It's right up there with some flat earth stuff, in my opinion.
It's a fancy screen and the entire case is milled out of a solid block of aluminium. Well, sure, you can pay for that, but if you're under the impression that that will get you a better sound quality than a less expensive, well-designed DAC that uses a state-of-the-art chip, you just don't know anything about audio engineering. But this is where it gets interesting. Some hi-fi manufacturers deliberately don't use audio-grade chips. Their marketing says that they use industrial...
I heard a lot of modern DACs can handle like 2 or 3 dB over 0. If that's the case, that would be the bit depth, right? Like it might be running in like 64 bits or something, or 32 or something. I don't know.
Or military grade chips instead. And this gives the illusion that they're higher quality or more...
What is the point of that though, Dirkhead? What is the purpose of that? Because like it's not going to work that way in the box. When you render it out, it's not going to work that way unless you render it in like 32-bit. So, you know what I mean? Like what is the purpose of that really serve? It doesn't really serve any sort of real purpose. Louder?
Rugged or expensive in some way. But the truth is, the industrial chips are made by the exact same semiconductor manufacturers that make the audio chips. So they just design them for laboratory test equipment for a different purpose than the audio chips. And the thing is, if they were somehow better...
I mean, do you really have a problem with how loud your stuff gets though? I didn't really have that problem. I mean, especially if you have a headphone amp, can't really go wrong with that. I mean, maybe if you're talking about monitoring, if you need to get those louder.
Then Texas Instruments and Cirrus Logic, they could just use that same technology in their audio chips, but they don't. Because it doesn't sound better. They're just designed for a different purpose. And the hi-fi companies that use the industrial chips, they claim they offer a more natural or more pure sound or whatever marketing adjectives they want to use. But in the absolute best case possible, they would sound exactly the same as the best audio chips.
Well, yeah, that's kind of my point. It's gonna be rendered out with a cap of 0 dB at some point. Like whether it's you rendering it from Ableton or whatever DAW you're using or something else, you know? You could render a track over 0, modern DAC won't clip it. But if only like 5 people have that or 500 people or how many ever people have that, then what's the point, you know? A majority of people are gonna be listening on their phones and being like, wow, this is so distorted. This sounds like shit.
And in the more likely case, they just sound worse and they have more distortion and more undesirable artifacts as a result of using the wrong chips for the wrong purpose. If you want audio chips, use the audio chips. They're designed using the best technology from those same companies. So why would they just release some chips for some other grade of equipment that cost less or the same price that don't sound as good as the audio chips? No, they just make the best audio chips possible. But the biggest load of bullshit of all are the NOS DACs, the no oversampling DACs. And this is marketed as the purest,
37,000.
most raw way to hear the direct.
Okay, wait, hold on. We gotta look up like a review of this. What is it?
Marketed as the purest.
Hold on
raw way.
Hold on a second here. What is like a really expensive DAC? I want to look up like a review from one of these. Oh my god, dude, this guy looks insane. He looks like Walter White.
A DAC, or digital to analog.
Bro, this guy looks like Walter White.
You're goddamn right.
Like Walter White when he changes his identity and moves away from New Mexico. $7.99. Okay, hold on. Looking for like a 50 grand one. I've never seen this guy before. Cheap audio, man. This probably isn't the right guy for this.
Digital signal. No filtering, no oversampling, just the raw, pure, unadulterated digital signal. Doesn't that sound better? Well, if you're a layman, in theory, that sounds better, but in reality, it's bullshit. It just sounds worse. Without proper oversampling and low-pass filtering, you just create massive amounts of ultrasonic noise, which you then terrorize your amplifier with.
You know, you're probably terrorizing your fucking dog with.
And terrorize your tweeters with. You get worse dynamic range because oversampling helps shift quantization error noise out of the audible frequencies. And if you want to know more about that, I made a whole video on the Nyquist theorem and delta sigma DACs. Whereas for normal people, digital audio isn't stair-stepped because low-pass filters exist. With a NOS R2R DAC, you are literally hearing the stair steps. More distortion is not somehow more natural. It's just more distortion. That's why literally every single sensible professional audio converter uses anti-imaging filters and oversampling, because without that, your signal is contaminated with high frequency crap. But what's dark about this is the fact that the manufacturers of NOS DACs obviously know this, but they sell their flawed design.
That is true. If you bought an insanely expensive converter, you could make a YouTube video or use it for you're probably using it for like a studio or something, unless you're insane, like an insane audiophile just listening to music, but you could use it as a write-off.
Anyway, because audiophiles think that they're getting something special, and that is the definition of snake oil. So why do people swear by their overpriced DACs? Why do some people claim that NOS DACs sound more analog even though they measure horribly? The answer is expectation bias. If you spend a ton of money on something, your brain wants to justify it. And when you've spent hours trawling through forum posts about how magical
At most anyone
R2R, NOS DACs are, or whatever, you'll just be convinced by that magic. Your ears will hear the magic. And anytime I talk about the psychological biases, I love to bring up the McGurk effect. And if you don't know what that is, let's have a look right now.
Have a look at this. What do you hear?
So basically you hear something different depending on, you know, like if different text is displayed on the screen, right?
But look what happens when we change the picture.
That is crazy, bro.
And yet, the sound hasn't changed. In every clip, you are only ever hearing bar with a B.
Blind tests have shown time and time again that people struggle to hear the differences between DACs, providing they are level matched. That's one of the main things that throws people off. They just don't level match properly, or they run it through some other signal chain and it's got some weird thing going on, or some EQ or something. No, if you just level match two DACs and listen to those DACs, most people cannot tell the difference. It's remarkable how many adjectives these hi-fi guys can come up with in creatively describing the unique characters of all of these different DACs. But when they are put in a blind test, they can't even hear the difference between two of them. If you search DAC reviews on YouTube, you can scroll through days of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
I'm not doing that. This is what I was trying to avoid. I want to like, this would probably be pretty good if we like sat here and like found like the weirdest one or like the most bullshit one, but that could take hours. That could take days. But I'm sure there's some great content here if you look hard enough.
Fire DAC reviews from people saying that this DAC sounds creamy, or this one sounds lush, or this one sounds invigorating, or this one sounds ethereal. But the truth is, either these guys just don't know what they're talking about, or they're just getting sponsorship money to sell these DACs, and they've got affiliate links or whatever.
That's what I said earlier.
Down below. But the thing is, either a DAC is transparent and you can't really tell the difference between that and something else which is transparent, or it's literally just like broken or poorly designed. Because that's the only way that you can tell the difference, because it's poorly designed and it doesn't sound the way that it should sound.
No, I do think AP Mastering is right about this. Moist. This is the most moist sounding DAC ever. That's crazy.
Because a decent DAC sounds transparent, and you can't tell the difference between transparent sounding DACs, because that's what the word means. That's what transparent means. If you could tell the difference.
This DAC sounds juicy.
But we've already reached the...
This DAC has a very like tangy flavor to it. Your ears are just like...
technology to make transparent sounding DACs. The Texas Instruments, Cirrus Logic, ESS, all of these manufacturers of semiconductors have already sufficiently advanced their technology, especially AKM. Like, the dynamic range is already more than the dynamic range of the human ear. And you can just test this yourself. If you've got an ADC, or especially an audio interface like most people have in the studio world, you can just take the outputs and put them in the inputs and do a loopback test. You just record the output back into the input. And providing you've got a higher quality ADC, and that isn't 90% of the coloration, then you can probably hear how your DAC is holding up pretty well in a loopback test. And the thing is, unless you've got a really bad ADC, and I'll give you an example of something that actually sounds really bad.
I hope this isn't gonna get me claimed. Oh yeah, this sounds different. I don't know, man. It's got that vintage feel, dude. It's very moist. It's a very moist sounding DAC. I don't know, man. It's really vintage, man. It's got that bump.
Quality ADC and DAC. You can actually do several loopbacks before you start hearing the difference. And the more times you send it through, the worse and worse it gets. So if you start with 1 and you can't really hear it, maybe you'll hear it by 3, or if you don't, maybe you'll hear it by 5. But if you get to 10 and can't hear it, then that's outstanding.
Just jump to 10, man. Loopback 50? Yo. That's nuts. That's moist.
And if you want to take it one step further, you can also just phase reverse that.
Dude, that is an insane amount of times to loop back the same signal. You did it 100 times. 100? A fucking 100? This guy's dedicated, dude.
With the original recording, and then you get the delta, meaning the difference.
I didn't want to say it, Fisk. You can say it for me.
Conversion stage has actually done to the sound.
This is true. This is true, Asher Reed. Yeah, that's something I mentioned before. I don't know if he saw it. I'm assuming he doesn't watch my reactions to his videos. But yeah, the audio compression on YouTube does, I don't know if it makes them redundant, but it's a variable you do have to take into account. Because like for instance, with that shitty DAC he was showing earlier, you can definitely hear the difference. This one here, like listen to the before and after of this one. You could set it up to do it auto with reefer. Of course you can. Of course you can. Go on, compare this though. This one, it's super obvious. Especially, I mean, with headphones on, it's super obvious. Like, it sounds like slightly colored. Like, it's like the low end sounds a little more crunchy, and the high end gets pushed up a little bit or something. Yeah, I don't know, what is this thing? It looks like one of those things you could use to play stems on or something.
Which is a Motu 24 AI and a TC Electronics.
Turn off stable volume. Oh, what the fuck? I thought it was off.
Monitor controller is a bit sort of old.
So that's another thing with YouTube. I swear that's been off for the longest time.
So you should really be able to hear it with this.
Wait, that doesn't change anything though.
If it sounds bad at all, everyone should be able to hear this immediately. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flick between the two. So I'm going to play the original or the loopback, and I'm going to flick between these two recordings. And what you need to tell me, not which is which, you need to tell me how many times I have flicked back and forth between it. Because I'm not going to
loud as fuck.
Put up on the
I gotta turn myself down a bit.
Because
I'll turn him up.
I don't think we'll even be able to tell when I'm switching. Let alone what one is A and B. They won't even be able to tell when I'm switching. So just let me know how many times have I switched. You don't even need to tell me which is A and B. Just tell me how many times have I switched back and forth between them. That is sufficient. So I'm going to put a poll, a link to a poll down below it in the description of this video. So click that and you can vote.
Bro. ASD, man. ASD. This is the ASD poll right here.
How many times I switch back and forth?
Who is gonna count this, dude? You need more shit to do if you're gonna sit here and count this right now. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
If you can actually hear that difference.
Like, I don't even blame him for doing this, but the people that actually go in and do this poll, fuck no. Yeah, I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not doing it. I'm not even gonna try to count. Cool outro music, man. Yeah, this outro music hits.
But please do click the Google poll in the video description.
Not doing that.
Really help me out to understand the results from you guys, how many times I'm switching backwards and forwards, or if you couldn't hear the difference, let me know in that poll. If enough people answer that poll, then I'll make a follow-up video to this. So
You don't need to make a I promise you don't need to make a follow-up video on that. If you maybe on a second channel. If you had a second channel, that's not worth it though, man. That is not worth it.
But anyway, this was the video and I hope you got something out with that. Let me know down below your opinions on DACs. Is it a scam when people are selling these overpriced DACs for thousands of euros, tens, even some DACs over 100,000 euros for some of these DACs?
People are giving their
Is that a
answers.
scam? Let me know down below. And as I say, if we get enough answers to this poll, then I'll make a follow-up video.
So I think it is a scam. I really just think it is a scam, and people are falling for it. People are falling for it, and I think it's just a matter of placebo effect. And people always hearing some small thing or thinking they're hearing some small thing with their audio, and they're like, "Oh, this is what's going to fix it. This is going to fix it." In reality, yes, we all want that moist DAC.